Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 118 of the Nigeria Football Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Oke. I've got another bumper episode for your listening pleasure today, and we'll be covering, the usual in terms of how Nigerian footballers have performed over the past week. I'm also going to be testing a new format where I just want to touch on the first or a few big news items that have happened in the footballing world regarding Nigeria over the past week. Today's Tuesday, just for your reference, so without any further ado, let's get into it. So, what have been the major talking points for this week? We've heard about rumors around Lesley Ugochukwu and Carney Chukwuemeka playing for potentially switching allegiance to the Super Eagles. We also saw Victor Boniface return to scoring after his failed move to Al Nassr, so that happened. And then in very, very good news, we saw Wilfred Ndidi come back from injury. I thought that was really, really big piece of news for Nigeria. And of course, the coach Eric Chelle has been going around Europe to visit some of our more prominent Super Eagles players ahead of our World Cup qualifiers in March. So look out for that one. Rather than diving straight into how our players performed over the last week, I want to talk about the major talking points. First thing I'll say with the Lesley Ugochukwu and Carney Chukwuemeka rumors, honestly, it's fake news. I know you all know it's fake news. But some Nigerian sporting outlets, I don't know if it's because of lack of advertising budgets or, funds they low. But the way they manufacture these lies is so annoying. There was a time 2 or 3 years ago where they said 7 or 8 players have decided that they will switch allegiance. I think out of all the 8, it was only Lookman. Maybe this was 3 or 4 years ago. But they're always lying. And it's so annoying. Because, look, we have enough talent in Nigeria, yes. And we know that by law of nature, a lot of these dual nationals will still end up playing for us. Because, look, we're still Super Eagles. We're big boys, man. Let's not even get it twisted. And it's why I started this podcast. Because in Europe, they need to know how good we are and what the Super Eagles means to the country, man. And if we don't do the job for ourselves, nobody will. But it's not by fake news. So anyway, it's already been debunked. We've seen sources. Onuachu Okereke, one of the more prominent, trusted journalists in the Nigerian space, very, very respected. I respect him a lot as well. He already mentioned that he spoke to an NFF official that said it was fake. But this comes back to my discussion all the time about how poor the NFF are at communication, whether that be PR comms or even just general communication with fans through social media, through the YouTube channel, through the actual media outlets such as channels or Rise TV. They just do an awful job. If you go to NFF TV right now, what do you see there? There's no information, so we have to rely on lies all the time. We don't do press conferences. Even when Eric Chelle was appointed, he did press conference, but how many of us saw the full video? What was the official video that's being shot by the NFF for the TV for him to come in? When a new manager signs for England or another national team, you already know they're going to see not just the press conference, they'll do an in-depth interview in either the NFF house or the equivalent of whatever the country is, asking about his goals, his plans, what he's going to do. We've seen bits and bobs here, but the reason why we continue to believe all these fake news because we don't have enough channels to see the information and it's not as readily available as it needs to be. So those are the things that need to change. So anyway, we'll lament about that on another day. But I still like some of the things we've seen so far. But make no mistake about it, I've heard that it's more likely Chukwuemeka might play for us, which was interesting to say, unlike Lesley Ugochukwu, because Lesley Ugochukwu is already in the French under 21 setup, which I found strange personally, but maybe it's because of where I live. Because in England, I know Carney Chukwuemeka 2 summers ago was the star player for the England under-19 team when they won the European Championship, and he was really, really good. He was excellent. In fact, he was amazing, So obviously with this club situation and him going to Chelsea, that was not necessarily the smartest move, but we could have all told him this for free. He's gone to Borussia Dortmund to resurrect his career. And honestly, I still think we need that player that can play in between the lines, the link between the midfield and attack. Yes, we have Iwobi, we have Fisayo Dele-Bashiru, but we need more options. We need people with real creativity. And after we lost out on Ebere Eze, I really think that Carney Chukwuemeka is a player that we should really be targeting. I mean, I read an article about how the German FA tried to convince Jamal Musiala to play for Germany over England. They didn't even bother thinking he could play for Nigeria. Meanwhile, you see one NFF prick who come and say, we're Nigeria, how can we be telling people to come and play for us? It's arrogance. Yes, we respect our national team and we're big boys, but the age look, we live in the age of globalization, even though it doesn't seem like that with all the Trump stuff and all these things happening. You must court players, let them feel valued, show them what it means to wear the badge. All of us know what it means to play for Nigeria, the most populous black nation in the world, 200 million plus people. Literally, the only thing that unifies us is football. But how many of these people know if they're born and raised in England? Some of them, maybe their parents moved to England for hope. So it's not as if they exactly remember Nigeria in a good light. You know, we have to be honest about the state of Nigeria, you know, regardless of your privilege here or there. So you have to come back and educate them. If you want to know about the past Super Eagles now, where can you get the content? You go to Prime Video, you watch the Nigeria Super Eagles 96 documentary, but that's it. If you even go to YouTube and you want to see Sunday Umbar's goal from 2013 African Cup of Nations, the pixel quality you see is so bad. But literally, even like a not so good footballing nation in Europe, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of Norway. Norway have not made a tournament since 1998. Go and look at their media. Go and look at the kind of information that they're able to pass on to their country so that they can play for their people. Where there's a player, Antonio Nusa at RB Leipzig. He's eligible for Nigeria, but guess what? He's playing for Norway. If it's based on pedigree and actually winning anything or even going to tournaments, Norway should not be, we should not be dragging players with Norway. No offense to Norway. Even with Haaland and Odegaard, they're still useless. But guess what? We don't do things properly, so we have to believe rumors, and we don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, long story short, before I ramble on, I hope we get Chukwuemeka. I think he's going to be very, very good for us if we can get him. Let's do Ugochukwu too, to be fair. Although when you have the likes of Hamza Ojedi-Ron, Christian Uche, and quite a few central midfielders, Rafael Yedika, I think, is going to be the pillar of our central midfield over the next 4 to 5 years for sure. You know, I expect him to make a big move to a top 5 league. Probably one of the better teams as well very, very soon, you know, considering how he's playing. So I'm not as worried about central midfield, although the more the merrier, to be honest. Leslie Ugochukwu, I don't know if he's kidding himself. This guy plays for Southampton on loan from Chelsea. He hasn't exactly set the world alight. So I don't want to assume based on what I've heard. But if I was Leslie Ugochukwu, I'll be begging NFF right now. I'll be converting my papers today. Because, bro, you're not going to make that French team. And me, I don't believe in all this, so they're better than us. I'm sorry. When it comes to matters of the heart, a national team, countries don't pay your salary. Go where you're loved. Come and play for Super Eagles. So anyway, I need to see more from Ugochukwu anyway before we can even decide that one. But Chukwuemeka bring, and I hope he does well for Dortmund. I know they're playing tonight against Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League. At the moment, Brest are playing PSG. PSG are 1-0 up. No surprise there. So that's one of the big talking points. But please, this fake news needs to stop. NFF need to get to the proper channels. You can even go on the NFF website. You can tell that they have one dodgy, just cheap websites. I don't know. Nothing they do makes sense to me, man. I'm just hoping for the best. So anyway, one day we'll see how it works. But boy, oh boy, we have so many potential dual nationals that could play for us. I don't even want to mention that Chelsea centre-back that is almost 20. He's already 27 years old. You know. Go where you have to also respect Nigeria, please. We're not second choice, so watch out for that one anyway. Also, what do we see? Victor Boniface, we all know what happened with his protracted move to Al Nassr falling. However, he bounced back straight away. We know he also scored his first goal again since all the rumors. He scored for Leverkusen again in their DFB Pokal title defense, extra time goal. By Leverkusen, they just continue to survive. In this game, I think they went down 2-0. But next thing you know, Patrick Schick scored a last-minute equalizer in stoppage time to make it 2-2. And then in extra time, we saw Victor Boniface score the winning goal. You know, fantastic. And it was literally on the day that he responded to some Nigerian sporting platform trying to ridicule his talent and claim that he's talentless, which I thought was very stupid. There's no need for all these hyperbole statements, you know. Victor Boniface is by far one of the most important Super Eagles players that we need. Yes, he hasn't performed for the Super Eagles as well yet, but don't even get me started on the reasons for that, which we know the way Nigeria set up. So anyway, shout out to Victor Boniface, and lovely to see him remain in Europe. For me personally, that's the one that made me happiest. Also, Eric Chelle, the Super Eagles coach, ahead of our games against Rwanda and Zimbabwe. Also, the dates have now been confirmed for our games against Rwanda and Zimbabwe, by the way, in March. So just look out for that one. Let me just quickly remember what dates they are. We will be playing against, what's that date? Rwanda away on March 21st, which is a Friday. And then on the Tuesday, Probably in Uyo, but maybe Abuja. We will then host Zimbabwe at home. So look out for those two games. And of course, we need to win those games to stand any chance of going to the World Cup. So what does that mean? Eric Chelle has been doing the rounds. He's been in England. He met with Alex Iwobi. He met with Wilfred Ndidi. He also met with Osayi-Samuel in France. I saw that picture as well. So he's just doing the rounds. I think he also met Aina, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure about that. But of course, he has to build the rapport with these players, especially as he's just coming as a national team coach. Same thing you see Tuchel doing for England. This is a very, very critical year for Nigeria. In fact, this is one of the most important Super Eagles years as far as football, with all the World Cup qualification games we have. And then December, we're going to go and try to do one better than we did in AFCON last year by winning the tournament. So there's no room for any error. And the good thing is with how our players are performing, we just need to make sure that they feel most comfortable and they're set up in the best ways to then flourish and perform for the Super Eagles. So also, it was very good to see Wilfred Ndidi being spoken to. We know Wilfred Ndidi is still a pillar of the national team. For some reason, people think Ndidi is so old, but Ndidi is still a young man who, and we also know that for Leicester, when he got injured, we all know how their season kind of went to shits on there. So speaking of Ndidi anyway, I'll then move into the player reviews as usual. So starting with the Premier League, Man United fans, I know you guys are happy on Friday. You're very lucky there was no VAR because that was rubbish, man. Wilfred Ndidi anyway made his return from injury in Leicester's 2-1 loss to Man United. Very, very lucky. Maguire was offside, but they say it was a goal, so 2-1 anyway. But next up for Leicester, they will be playing my beloved Arsenal. That will be a Saturday kickoff at 12:30 p.m. No offense, Leicester, but they're going to lose the game. But I hope Ndidi starts and he plays well. I think that's the least we can hope for in this game. As for Aina and Taiwo Awoniyi, they were not in action this week because it was FA Cup games and Forest were already out. However, Nottingham Forest also went to Dubai to do some warm weather training. Next up for them, though, they will be in action against Exeter in the FA Cup tonight. And then they'll play. Oh, why did I say they're out? Sorry, they're playing Exeter tonight. They're not out. Forgive me. And then they play Fulham away on Saturday. So it's going to be the battle of the Niger boys. Fulham versus Nottingham Forest this Saturday. As for Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey was rested and Iwobi came on for the final 15 minutes as Fulham beat Wigan in the FA Cup fourth round. So they're now moving on to the fifth round, which is the round of 16. And we'll see how they perform when they play Nottingham Forest. The good news for Fulham is they're going to be the home team, so you have to say that the Fulham boys will be marginal favourites in this game, to be honest. So watch out for that one. As for Southampton, Aribo played 90 minutes while Onuachu came off the bench for the final 23 minutes. Southampton, it gets worse, man. They're bottom of the Premier League and they lost to Burnley, who are like third in the Championship in the FA Cup on Saturday. So it just gets from the fire pan to the fire for Southampton, to be honest. They're just a disgrace, to be honest. So anyway, that's it in terms of the Premier League players for the past week. As there was no Prem games over the week, we don't have any roundups for you. But fixtures to look forward to, especially if you're of an Arsenal persuasion. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. The last ever game at Goodison Park ever. Everton versus Liverpool. David Moyes, we know, has been on a 2 or 3 game winning streak in the Premier League since he's come back in. So, Moyes, I need you tomorrow, please, because Arsenal, we need to stay in this title race. And then there's going to be a Friday kickoff game. Brighton hosts Chelsea at the Amex Stadium. 9 p.m. kickoff in Nigeria. That's going to be a tough game for Chelsea. We all know that they just lost to Brighton in the FA Cup 2-1 as well in the same stadium. So it's kind of funny they have to play the same team again. And then, of course, Arsenal play Leicester in the 12:30 kickoff game on Saturday. So 1:30 p.m. in Nigeria. And then we've got about 3 p.m. kickoff games, which will be 4 p.m. in Lagos. West Ham hosts Brentford. Southampton hosts Bournemouth. Aston Villa hosts Ipswich Town. Manchester City hosts Newcastle, which should be a very tasty game. I'm surprised that's a 3 p.m. kickoff game. Premier League, what the hell are you doing? And then we have Fulham playing Nottingham Forest. And then the late kickoff is now Crystal Palace versus Everton. I know people in Nigeria, there's no problem because you watch all the matches. But in England, that means the Man City Newcastle game is not going to be on TV. It feels very stupid, man. Anyway, on Sunday, we'll then see Liverpool host Wolverhampton at Anfield. And then Battle of Dom versus Dunbar. Tottenham host Manchester United at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. As we all know as well, Tottenham Stadium, they just announced that Kendrick Lamar and Cesar will be playing there. That stadium is more famous for concerts than good football because they're really useless. But anyway, kudos to them for finding that money from there. Anyway, moving on to Serie A. Lookman is still injured, as you know, so he's going to miss Atalanta's game against Club Brugge tomorrow, which would have been nice to see because we'd have known Onyeka versus Lookman, but it's not to be. Fisayo Dele-Bashiru, on the other hand, played 25 minutes and scored the final clinching goal as Lazio beat Monza 5-1. Fantastic goal, man. I love FDB, man. Like, I need to put some stocks, man. You guys know I talk about Dele-Bashiru anytime he plays and he scores, but I just like his confidence. Came off the bench, he got the ball, he just did one step over real quick with his right foot, shifted to his left foot, banged it straight to the top corner. And I like that he could score with both feet, you know. This is a serious player. And honestly, he's been just fine wearing that number 10 shirt for the Super Eagles so far. So long may it continue. Lazio are now fourth in Serie A, so we know that they're still going to fight for at least the Champions League spots with Juventus, Fiorentina. It's quite a tough. Serie A this season is very interesting, and it tends to be the most competitive league over the past 2 or 3 years, to be honest. But next up, they play Napoli at home, so that's going to be even tastier. Look out for that game on Saturday. As for Samuel Chukwueze, he was on the bench as AC Milan beat Roma 3-1 on Wednesday in the Coppa Italia. And then he was also on the bench again in the 2-0 win over Empoli in the league on Saturday. I have a feeling he might be injured, though, because if he's not injured and they're just making him on a new sub, that's not a good sign. That means Cedric Consal does not like him at all. Anyway, we'll see if he gets any minutes tomorrow in the Champions League as AC Milan play Feyenoord away, 8 p.m. kickoff, and then they play Verona at home on Saturday in Serie A. As for Maduka Okoye, he gets closer to a return for Udinese. Should be interesting to see if he gets his place back once he's match fit, considering how they've signed a new goalkeeper. And that goalkeeper's been doing okay, but I think Maduka should get his place back, but we shall see. So they play Empoli at home on Sunday. I'm not sure if that's going to be too soon for Maduka, but time shall tell. In the Bundesliga, Nathan Tella came on in the 60th minute, while we know Boniface came off in the 75th minute to score that winning goal against Cologne, which I spoke about as one of the major talking points. However, over the weekend, they drew 0-0 to Wolfsburg, which is very disappointing. Both players started, and they're now 8 points behind Bayern Munich with just 13 games to go. So I must say, I think Vincent Kompany is going to win his second league title of his career. We know he won the league title in the championship for Burnley a few seasons ago, but I'll be very surprised if Leverkusen are able to claw that gap back. As for Frank Onyeka, he did play 69 minutes, but he made an error that led to Stuttgart's goal as Orban lost 1-0 in DFB Pokal. So sorry to hear that. However, over the weekend, he did bounce back and get a clean sheet for his team against Mainz, 0-0 in the league. Next up for them, they play Leipzig at home on Friday, so that'll be a big, big test of their character. We know we'll be playing against Xavi Simons and Benjamin Sesko, who they make it seem like is the only striker in the world that Tella likes, you know, but that's a story for another day, you know. And then Kevin Akpoguma played 64 minutes. Gift Urban played a whole half as Hoffenheim lost 4-0 to Union Berlin on Saturday. I mean, Hoffenheim, they need to take time, man. It looks like they might be going down much sooner than we think. But we'll continue to monitor this space. Next up for them, they play Werder Bremen away on Sunday, so it doesn't get any easier for them at all. In La Liga, Kristan's Uche played 90 minutes and he got a yellow card as Getafe lost 5-0 to Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey on Tuesday. Really, really bad performance for them. But this is what I like about mid-table teams. Don't do the one that is bigger than you. They lost in the Copa del Rey 5-0 to Atletico Madrid. No problem. What they do, they dusted themselves up on Sunday and they went to Deportivo Alaves and they beat Deportivo Alaves 1-0. Penalty. But they last ball at his finest. You know, 1-0, 14th, and they're on a pretty good streak in terms of wins and draws in their last 5 games, which is exactly what you want when you're a team in 14th place. Next up for them, they play Girona away on Friday, 8 p.m. kick-off. As for Sevilla, Ejuke came off the bench, played 27 minutes as Sevilla got thrashed 4-1 by Barcelona. Barcelona are good, man. I don't need to say too much more than that. Akko Adams missed the game due to a thigh injury. Of course, we know that Iheanacho has now moved back to England to play in the Championship for Middlesbrough. So watch out for that one, although we're not in the business of talking about how players are performing in leagues that are not the top leagues. So we wish him all the best. Next up for Sevilla, they play Real Valladolid away on Sunday. So let's see if Ejuke and Adams will feature in that game. Valencia, Sadiq played 71 minutes as they got absolutely hammered by Barcelona and Copa del Rey. He then came off the bench and played 30 minutes over the weekend as Valencia scored a very crucial 2-0 win over Leganés in La Liga, which moves them up to 18th place. And now their hopes of survival are much bigger. Like I've said before, Valencia are one of the most storied clubs in Spain. And honestly, they can't be going down. That's a disgrace. So hopefully they could keep up the good work, although the next game is against Villarreal away on Saturday. So that's going to be a tough game. Finally, to round up the top 5 leagues in France, Osayi-Samuel played 68 minutes as Nantes lost to Brest 2-0 on Friday. Next up for them, they play Monaco away, so it doesn't get any easier. And Nantes have to take time because they're now 15th in the league, so getting dangerously close to the relegation zone. In fact, they're only one spot off relegation, so they better take time. Hamza Algeneron came on to play 7 minutes and got a yellow card as Lens lost 2-0 to Nice on Saturday. Hopefully he can have a much better outing when they play Strasbourg at home on Sunday. Gabriel Osho was back in the starting lineup for AG Auxerre. He played 90 minutes as they drew to lose 2-2 in the league on Sunday. And next up for them, they play Brest away on Friday, 7:45 p.m. Speaking of Brest, they're now 2-0 down against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, so it's not looking good for them. And Ousmane Dembele has just scored his 17th goal in his last 11 appearances. So shout out to Ousmane Dembele, man. Really, really good to see. But hopefully Auxerre can pile some more misery on Brest when they play on Friday. As for the Nice boys, Aribo is back fit, but he was on the bench in their 2-1 loss, and he was not in the squad as they beat Lens 2-0 on Saturday. Let's see if he gets some minutes when they play Le Havre on Sunday. So that's it in terms of the top 5 leagues in Europe for this week. Moving on quickly to the non-top 5 leagues, I want to keep this short and sharp as I've already done the major talking points of the top 5 leagues roundup. In Turkey, we saw Victor Osimhen rested over the week on Thursday as Galatasaray beat Boluspor 4-1 in the Turkish Cup. He then started on Sunday against Adana Demirspor, but the game was abandoned with Galatasaray 1-0 up courtesy of the penalty. The reason why it was abandoned was because they claimed that Dries Mertens dived. I can't lie, when I saw the footage, it looked like, say, Isha kept his leg there longer than he needed to keep his leg, if you know what I'm saying. But, and then I saw Mourinho went to go and repost the clip of the incident happening with Mertens. That guy is just a funny guy. So anyway, we also know that Adana Demirspor, their president, has resigned as a result of him urging his team to leave the field. Turkey is just a crazy place, man. It's always them that their players are abandoning games, leaving the pitch. Why not just dust yourself off and keep playing and try and beat Galatasaray? It's very unlikely they would have won the match anyway, so I don't understand that shakara. Almost moving like Libya against Nigeria. Rubbish. Anyway, Europa League is back this week, so we'll see Osimhen in action against AZ Alkmaar on Thursday, and then back in league action on Monday. They play Rizespor away. At the moment, they have a 3-point lead over Fenerbahce, but of course, with their abandoned game, they should get 3 more points, and it should be 6 points. So watch this space. As for Fenerbahce and Osayi-Samuel, he was on the bench as Fenerbahce beat Erzurumspor 5-0 in the Turkish Cup. He then played 20 minutes in their 2-0 win over Alanyaspor on Sunday. So it looks like he's lost his place in the most recent games. But fingers crossed that he'll bounce back, starting with their game against Anderlecht at home on Thursday in the Europa League. After that, they play Kasimpasa at home on Sunday. So hopefully we'll see Osayi-Samuel get major minutes in both games. Moving on to Portugal, Zedu Sarisi was on the bench for Porto's 1-1 draw against Sporting Lisbon. It looks like he's definitely not in the good books of the new manager. So watch this space. Let's see if he gets some minutes when they play Roma on Thursday in the Europa League. And then if not, when they play Farenz away in the league. In Greece, Bodo Yemachi was on the bench for Olympiacos in their 1-0 win over their rivals Panathinaikos in the Greek Cup on Wednesday. He was then on the bench again for their 1-1 draw against Asteras Tripolis on Sunday. So it looks like he's being eased in as a new signing. But hopefully he could get some minutes sooner rather than later, starting when they play Panathinaikos away on Sunday. In Belgium, Tolua Godari played 90 minutes as Genk drew 1-1 against Club Brugge in the Belgian Cup. They did lose 3-2 on aggregate, so shout out to Onyeka's team for progressing. He then came off the bench and played 22 minutes in their 2-1 win over Cercle Brugge on Saturday. Next up are Rokodari and Genk, who still remain first. They play Standard Liège away on Friday night. Rafael Onyeka, on the other hand, he did play 90 minutes in that win over Genk, and then he played 90 minutes again on Saturday as Club Brugge beat OH Leuven 1-0. We would expect him to start tomorrow as well as Club Brugge play Atalanta in the Champions League playoff rounds, and then they play St. Truden away on Saturday. But I'll be honest, this week, Onyeka is one of the people that I'm really hanging my hopes to. I need him to have a very, very good performance for Club Brugge in their game against Atalanta. As I said earlier, he's one of the big hopes of the national team. If you don't know about Rafael Onyeka, get to know, man. You can even see what he did against Man City last week. That's a real star boy right there. So look out for him, and long may his success continue. As for Jordan Torunariga, he played 90 minutes as Ghent beat Anderlecht 1-0 on Sunday. So next up for his team, they play KV Mechelen away on Friday. In Scotland, oh my God. Thank God Leon Balogun did not play, because what embarrassing result for Rangers. So Deserts played 45 minutes as Rangers lost 1-0 to Queen's Park, who play in the second division in Scotland, 1-0. I even heard somewhere that this might be one of the worst results for Celtic or Rangers in the past 20 or 30 years. That's how bad this result was. And their manager, Phil Clement, I don't know how he still has his job, but man, something's not going on well at all at Rangers, you know. But they did qualify for Europa League top 8. So hopefully they'll continue to do well in Europe, and we'll see them do better, put on a better show. Igor Ogbo played 90 minutes for Slavia Prague against Pardubice, so good to see him getting minutes. Victor Olatunji, on the other hand, did not play for Sparta Prague, their 3-0 win in the league over the weekend. Saina Abali was back in action for Chippa United. He played 90 minutes and made 3 saves as Chippa United beat Magesi FC 4-1. He then played 90 minutes on Saturday and made an error that led to the goal for TS Galaxy as they beat Chippa United 1-0. So hopefully he could bounce back sooner rather than later, because they've got a big game on Saturday against one of the big, at least supported-wise, bigger teams in South Africa in Kaizer Chiefs on Saturday. So that's it in terms of the roundup of the other leagues. Ones to watch. No games to watch with Nigerian players tonight, but tomorrow in the Champions League, we'll see Rafael Onyeka's Club Brugge host Atalanta. Look out for that game. It's 6:45 p.m. Nigerian time. So it gives you enough time to then watch the next game, which will have Samuel Chukwueze's AC Milan going away to Feyenoord. He's likely to be on the bench, but hopefully we'll see him get some significant minutes in this game. On Thursday in the Europa League, we will see Osayi-Samuel's Fenerbahce host Anderlecht in the Europa League. Also an early kickoff game, 6:45 p.m. in Nigeria. And then in the later kickoffs at 9 p.m. Nigeria, we'll see Victor Osimhen's Galatasaray go away to AZ Alkmaar, and Sedu Sanusi's Porto host Roma, although it's likely Sanusi will be on the bench too. And then on Saturday, we'll see Wilfred Ndidi's Leicester host Arsenal at the King Power Stadium in the early kickoff, 1:30 p.m. Nigeria time. And then the bunch of 4 p.m. games we have for you. Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey's Fulham will be hosting Nottingham Forest's Aina and Taiwo Awoni at Craven Cottage. Really, really good game to observe for Nigeria, 4 p.m. kickoff. Onuachu and Aribo Southampton will be hosting Bournemouth, 4 p.m. kickoff as well, but it's very, very likely that Bournemouth win that game, although you just never know with the Premier League. As for Lazio, Fisayo Dele-Bashiru will be up against Napoli. That's going to be a big, big game for the Serie A title race in Napoli's case, and also for the top 4 race in Lazio's case. So hopefully we can see Fisayo Dele-Bashiru play very well in that game. And then we've got the big one in Germany right now. It's literally the Klassiker. We've got Victor Boniface and Nathan Tella's Leverkusen hosting Bayern Munich. Wait, is that accurate? Yeah. So they host Bayern Munich on Saturday, literally 6:30 p.m. kickoff in Nigeria. I know they don't really show Bundesliga in Nigeria, at least from the extended period I was out there, so that one might be tough to watch. But let's just say this game is a very critical game for Leverkusen if they want to have any chance of retaining their title, because they're already 8 points behind. If Bayern win and it's 11 points, it's all over, Jackie. Don't cry, don't beg. But obviously, if it's 5 points, it becomes a lot more palatable. So look out for that one. And then finally, we will see Moses Simon's Nantes go away to Monaco. That's going to be an interesting game to watch. Ilenikhena is injured for Monaco, of course, and we know that. And then on Monday, we'll see Galatasaray's Victor Osimhen away against Rizespor, 6 p.m. Nigeria time. I know you can catch this one on ESPN in Nigeria. As for the Star Boy of the Week, bronze medal, I have to give it to Wilfred Ndidi. Good performance in his return and pivotal for Leicester's goal against United. He really showed that he's a senior man in that Leicester City squad, despite the Ojoro loss that was handed on to them as a result of no VAR. So all of you that like to cry about VAR, I hope you have seen the opposite effect here. Silver medal, I want to give it to Fisayo Dele-Bashiru. I mean, scoring a really good goal against Monza, 5-1 Serie A. his team are in contention for the Champions League spots. That's always a big one, and he continues to shine. And then gold medal, I want to give it to Victor Boniface for his action for Leverkusen in DFB Pokal. Scoring the winner in extra time is always an emotional moment, especially with all that's been happening with him and his failed move and him being able to switch himself back mentally to then perform for Bayer Leverkusen in that crucial game against Cologne, which has now put them in the semi-finals. And you have to admit, it's probably their biggest chance of winning a trophy, considering how they're going in the Bundesliga and they're now in the Champions League, not the Europa League anymore. But anything is possible. So anyway, shout out to you, Victor Boniface. Hopefully you can score the winner against Bayern Munich on Saturday. So that's it for this episode of the podcast. A bit of a long one. Apologies there. But I also tried to experiment with the setup here and there. So hope you like it. Hope you like the new format. Please remember to give me feedback on YouTube. I really appreciate all the feedback and we listen to everything. Trust me. Enjoy all the football this week. And, we're looking forward to the Super Eagles playing. But until next time, enjoy the games and I will see you next week. Ciao, ciao, and take care.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigeriano de Eva Karila.